Kieran, do you want to try and do the rental review opening?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
My voice is kind of blown out, but... Come on down to Cinemassacre Video, where selection's the name of the game.
I think that's fine.
I don't remember the rest of it. I did it once. We recorded it once, like, 2 years ago, and I just never said it ever again after that, so...
Yeah, it's almost been 2 years that we've been doing rental reviews, which is kind of weird.
Two
about
wonderful
a year and a half.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many episodes are there now? Do you know?
How many episodes?
Yeah.
Coming up on 80.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
After this panel, Cage Month starts, where we do 2 Nicolas Cage movies every Friday.
Oh, yeah, Cage Match.
Yeah, it would go up right now, but we have to go, you know.
Yeah. We're doing this right now.
We're doing this instead. So I don't know. So thanks for coming to Cinemassacre panel without James or Mike. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
But don't worry, we also have Ryan. He showed up.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll just do I guess we'll just do a straight Q&A and have fun and whatever. I got our friend Jab here. He's up. His hand. There he is. He'll be. He's a big guy, so watch out if you say something. Yeah. So if you want to come up to the mic and talk at us, that'd be good. We're also filming this panel, kinda. So just head on over. We don't need to do a whole line thing. Just come up when you feel like it.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, we have a candidate here.
Hello. Hey, guys. So my question is, what character from one of the movies that you've reviewed would you like to see on Jurassic Park? And would they survive? If they don't survive, how would you like to see them die?
Okay, so that's a loaded question. So you asked if characters from different movies that we reviewed, how would they fare in the events of Jurassic Park? What?
Okay.
That sounds like a whole panel. Like, what the?
No, I got this. Dalton from Roadhouse would kill all of the dinosaurs, and they would go extinct again. And then kids would have to learn about the second dinosaur extinction. It would just be Patrick Swayze ripping throats out of dinosaurs.
Oh, I know. I want to see Sam Neill's character from Event Horizon in Jurassic Park and without eyeballs and stuff like that.
I think Raul Julia's M. Bison could kill the shit out of a dinosaur.
Yeah.
Just electrocuting dinosaurs.
He would just, he'd fry them and stuff and then, ride around on his hover bike thing, whatever that is.
Electromagnetism.
Yeah. And I beheld Satan as he fell from heaven like lightning!
If no one's seen Street Fighter the movie, that might be weird.
Was that? Yeah, probably.
Ryan, do you have Ryan? How many rental reviews have you been in? Like 2 or 3?
I've been in 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're keeping tabs.
So I'll go with one that was in an episode I was in. I would love to see Jeff Goldblum and Clark Griswold have a conversation about chaos theory.
Right. Yeah. Sorry for a few people were mad at me for shitting on Christmas Vacation, but someone's got to be the bad guy.
No, they're mad at you because you
Yeah,
said
no.
Vegas Vacation was your favorite.
It is.
What?
It has all the dam scene. It has the Nevada stuff. It
I
has
like Vegas Vacation. It's
Nick
just not the best
Papagiorgio.
one.
It has all the gambling stuff. It has Wayne Newton. It's a funner film. I'm sorry. Yeah, but the thing is, I'm not forced to watch Vegas Vacation every December 4 times.
That's
Funner
true.
film.
That's true.
I don't know. All right, so I guess next question of anyone who wants to come up and ask a question.
Yeah, is that it, or?
Oh, here we go.
This is more fun just to watch people awkwardly get out of their seats.
Hello. First off, your opinion's wrong.
It's fine.
Anyway, what's been the hardest thing to film for Cinemassacre so far? What do you each think is the hardest thing you've ever had to film and produce for Cinemassacre?
The Immortal. That one was really rough. I don't know if you guys saw it, I was in the Goblin costume and I was in that shower for like 6 hours.
Yeah.
Because, sometimes we either wouldn't get through the take or I'd have to wait until, James said the word dysentery, and once he said it, I would come out. But I can't see anything, and I fell asleep a couple times, in there, because it's like having your eyes constantly closed, but they're open.
And we shot that in the summer, too, and you had to turn off the AC and stuff when you're filming because of the noise, and it was a hot one.
Yeah, it really was, actually. It was in, the middle of August, I think.
But thinking back, because I did all the makeup, I was a Spawn clown, so I did that. that. That was cool. Thank you. That wasn't too bad.
Yeah, the hardest for me was Trespasser, because we went to that abandoned island to record.
All right, yeah, let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
So the Jurassic Park Trespasser episode, I'm talking to Justin, and he's like, oh, we're going to go to the park, we're going to shoot this thing. I'm like, yo, let's shoot it on an actual island where we need a boat and a jet ski and Tony on a beach while the tide is going up. And
by the end of that shoot, there was like no more beach. Like I was waiting for Justin to come back with the jet ski, and I'm holding all the equipment, and I'm just losing ground.
Yeah, there's like oil tankers. It's like a huge shipping channel, the Delaware River. So we're just out there like jerks on an island. An island that has wild horses.
Yeah, I go to anchor the boat, and a gigantic ship goes down, and I'm like, if I anchored the boat in the channel, we're just dead. There's no way that we're getting out of this. And it passed by, like, probably where those lights are back there. And then that's how close it was.
And then you're also on the boat with a drone filming.
Yeah, I was filming it,
And setting up a gateway PC on a like some.
We had a generator. Something happened with it. We tried to power on that PC on the island, and it didn't work.
I think Justin broke it when he was moving it on the jet ski.
I might have, yeah. Well, so the whole thing is with the Trespasser episode, we thought that one would be easy to do because it's a lot of B-roll. Because the whole joke is because you have the wobbly arm, it's all first person. So theoretically, James doesn't have to be there to shoot stuff in the woods and whatever. But we made it way harder.
You guys kept approving all my ideas. Like I did that joke about renting a Mercedes, and then Ryan just starts looking up Mercedes rentals. I'm like, oh, I guess we're doing it. And then we rented the Jurassic Park Jeep, which was cheaper than the brand new Mercedes. I thought that was interesting.
But the hardest one for me to do was probably the Black Tiger with Gilbert Godfried in it, because we had to shoot that in New York, like a block from his house and stuff, in YouTube space, and they were so terrible to us, and our mics weren't working. They're like, "Oh, it's your fault. It's this, blah blah blah." And it's because there's a U.S. Marshal's office under it. They were using jamming software, so all the mics just wouldn't work. So most of everything but Gilbert's audio in that is all ADR. James had to voice it all over, and he's so good at ADR.
Yeah, he's insanely good at ADRing himself. Like he sends us stuff. Like there's videos where you would never tell because he's just straight up like. I don't know how he gets every single beat to the point where all I have to do is line it up and it's there. It works.
You know why he's really good at that?
Yeah.
Because the old AVGN episodes, he used to record just like a game on a pause screen with no sound effects. Sample all the sound effects and insert them back in so you had a steady soundtrack throughout the AVGN episode, and then he would just ADR everything.
Wow.
And the whole entire timeline would be, I mean, if you watch James edit, he actually wears a brace on his hand because he's super fast with the hotkeys, and he just is used to just inserting effects, doing this, doing that. And the way those episodes were done back with like Final Cut 7 was really crazy. So that's why he's into it, because all those episodes, like Fester's Quest is the perfect example. The sound design in that for a guy sitting in his basement or in his bedroom making episodes is pretty crazy for 2007 or whenever it came out.
And that's something with YouTube in general is, you can have your crappy 480 whatever video and shoot it in your house, but if it sounds bad, no one's going to watch it. It can't sound bad. So I guess that answers that question.
All right, thank you.
You just head up to the mic.
I can just walk up to them.
You guys
that might be funner,
first.
Who raised their hand first?
There you go. But I will say hardest for rental reviews is the week before we came here, I had to watch, for the Star Wars review, I had to watch 8 Star Wars movies and then 8 Nicolas Cage movies in 2 days. So, and I know that's like, oh, well, that's your job's to watch Nicolas Cage movies. I'm like, it's
that's really bad for you. Imagine having to watch 5 Phantasm movies in one night because Justin Silverman decided he didn't want to do it the night before we shot. I had to watch 5 Phantasm movies.
Justin, let's talk about your problem a little bit. If Justin needs to review a movie, he needs to watch so much supplemental content for him to feel happy.
Yeah.
Like if he was reviewing the next MCU movie, I guess he's marathoning every MCU movie and everything made by every director that features that.
Listen, I don't read Wikipedia. I watch everything. It's a mess. Sorry. What up?
Check. Okay.
Actually, going back to the Life of Black Tiger episode, I was wondering how did getting Gilbert Godfried come about for that whole thing?
With Gilbert, I'm pretty good at sending emails. I do that a lot. And Gilbert does his podcast, and he reached out to James years ago to be on it. One of his, whatever. So I emailed that contact out of the blue because we were trying to figure out who'd be the best for this. Because originally Gilbert wasn't going to be in Black Tiger. He was going to be in... first it was Superman. It was. We're trying to find the right thing for him, and then James came up with the Fred Fox idea, and we're like, okay, that's great, let's do that. And I shot him an email, and they said they're like, sure. And his Dara, his wife, called me while jogging through Central Park. She's like, so what do you want to do? And I'm like, we want to do this and that. So we just kind of chatted about it and all that stuff. And then next thing we know, we just got him from New York, or shot it in New York. So we had to go up to him. I wish he could come down to us so we could have a soundproof and do all that stuff, but it was what it is. So it was just a blind email, and because we did the Macaulay Culkin thing and a few other things already, they already knew kind of, and because they had the interest. Because Macaulay, he put on Twitter hey, I want to be an AV Gen, and we said that okay. So but we've been trying to grab people, but this year I don't think we're gonna have too many any celebrities or special guests unless it makes a lot of sense. I know. Mike really wants to get Sean Astin for Goonies NES, but I don't know if that's going to happen or be that good. But yeah. So
I just want to say at this point in time, Justin's full of crap. What's going to happen is there's going to be a conversation, and there's going to be 10 people in the episodes this year. So
I know there's one big guest this year.
See, he's already backpedaling.
But. Yeah, I don't know if that's going to happen yet either, but it's a gaming person, but, we'll see what happens.
Gilbert's great to work with, by the way. That was the second time I worked with him. That guy, when you're not rolling, he's the calmest, sweetest guy. He's just oh, okay, all right, I'll do that. Then you hit action, and he just switches it on, just starts screaming like a crazy person.
Well, that's a lot like James, where he's in real life, he's shy and nice and super cool, and then he screams and curses. Gilbert's the same way.
Yeah.
He's just how you doing? It's oh, it was.
So I don't think y'all have done a video on the Back to the Future series yet, but I kind of want to get each of y'all's opinions on it and what you think about it overall.
Our opinions on Back to the Future, the movies? Yeah. Well, Kieran, you talked about it in the one episode, about number 3.
Yeah, I love Back to the Future. It's one of the first movies I've ever seen in my life, the first one, and the second one is the first movie I ever went to a theater. I was a baby. But I love them. I think they're some of the best. I'm really glad that they're not being remade or anything like that, and no one's let's make a dumb sequel out of nowhere or something. It stayed as a perfect trilogy, and in my opinion, it's the only perfect trilogy that there really is.
I love Back to the Future. I think it's great. That's all I got for that.
I think Back to the Future represents what cinema used to be, in that it's not part of some extended universe. It doesn't have a toy line. It's just you go to the movies and you watch this self-contained great movie that takes you someplace you've never been before. So I would love to watch more movies like that. But if they remade Back to the Future, that'd be awful.
Yeah.
And a soft reboot would suck, because then they'd be going back to the 80s, and there's so much 80s stuff right now, it would just be pointless.
It would turn out just like the new Star Wars, where it'd be a soft reboot, and they wouldn't know what they were doing till after the fact.
Yeah.
Because that's what's good about Back to the Future, is that it feels complete. So when you're watching the second one, and you see him sneaking around the car and shots from the first one and all that, it seems very planned, and it's oh wow, it's you're going back, and you kind of get reminisce with it, and 3's just wacky, and it's funny, you know, so it's whatever. But doing it now would be horrifying, because you'd be oh, it's 2020, and we have to go back in time to 1990, right? It's 30 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then you go in the future to 2050. Is that how math works? And that
Yeah, something like that.
When Jaws 80 comes out,
yeah,
they weren't joking. They make fun of that old Jaws. What number was it? Jaws what?
It was 15, right? Jaws.
That's a good question for the trivia panel tomorrow.
Yeah, that's.
But that's kind of how it is with the MCU and stuff now, because it's oh, come see, did we review Captain Marvel?
No.
I hope not. Yeah, yeah, but for that I watched all the Marvel movies for it. I shouldn't have done that. But yeah, there you go. Next question.
Hey guys, what do you think of the new Ghostbusters?
I don't care.
2016 or
No, the brand new one.
I don't know if we want to.
No.
Afterlife, life after death.
I hate everything after Ghostbusters 2. It's an idea that only worked once. It's lightning in a bottle. Ghostbusters 2 was bad. The remake was bad. I don't care about this new one. I don't want to see kids as Ghostbusters. It looks terrible. There you go.
It does look like...
I don't care if it's in the same universe. The original creators couldn't recreate the magic from the first movie. Why would the guy's son recreate the magic from the first movie?
Everyone's walking around saying Ghostbusters 2 is like really good, and I feel like if your job is to make a sequel to something, it better be like Terminator and Terminator 2, where you can actually have an argument. What do you like better? What do you like? The second one's better and it improves on it and stuff like that. And Ghostbusters definitely didn't do that. And with the reboot, and this is just cashing in on Stranger Things craze a little late. I'm gonna see it, but I mean, Ghostbusters, the first one was the first movie I saw in theaters. I think I've said that before. I was 3 months old, probably crying like a little dick, but.
The funniest part of Ghostbusters is Bill Murray just conning people. He cons his friends out of money. He cons the college out of money just so he can get laid. You can't recreate that with kids. Like, you're not going to recreate the best parts of the first movie.
Ghostbusters, the first one, is not about busting. It's not about the ghost. It's about guys trying to start a small, time job. They're like exterminators, and that's the thing they have.
Yeah. I don't care. I don't give a shit about Ghostbusters really. It's like I'm cool with it. I like them. I like the toys. I like the cartoon probably more than anything. But I really don't care. I don't understand why everybody gets so upset about it. I don't understand why anybody gets really upset about anything, I guess. Sure. I don't care about anything.
I feel like modern Ghostbusters suffers from the same thing that modern Transformers suffers from. Like, if you look at what Transformers G1 is and what it meant in the context of the time that it came out versus what the Michael Bay Transformers is, they're not equivalent because they come from a different place. Mm-hmm. And that's why I have a problem with it.
I don't like the Michael Bay Transformers, mostly because of the way they look.
Yeah.
I don't like that they look like, they have like 80 million moving parts, and it's like they don't look like robots. They look like
they're big,
a car
they're
that
big
is
gray blobs.
ripped apart. Yeah. And also, they don't look right to me. Like, Optimus Prime looks kind of dumb, and then like the new one, the Bumblebee, the way it looked, I thought that was cool because that's like Bumblebee? What they looked like in the cartoons.
I actually like that movie. I
still haven't seen it, but it's on Hulu, I think.
Yeah, Bumblebee's good. It's just it was clearly a prequel to the first movie, and then they changed their mind in the middle of production. So there's weird connections to Michael Bay, but then none of it jives canonically. It's weird. I mean, it's a good movie if you've never seen the other ones.
I mean, speaking of, we talked about Back to the Future, Ghostbusters, Transformers. We're doing a lot of theme months on Rental Reviews this year, like January's Cage Month, and we're coming up with funny other ideas, like we can do Jim Carrey movies in February and call it Febu-Carrey. And we have a bunch of them. And I was trying to figure out September, and I was like, oh, we could do like Sep whatever trilogy. So it's all like we're reviewing a series of 6 movies each, which would be way too much stuff to watch, but we might do it. Yeah. And I was like, okay, let me think of really good series that have 6. I'm like, okay, so there's Lord of the Rings, kind of, Star Wars, oops. And I was trying, I'm like, Transform. So anyone that had like an OK 6, or Terminator. So, I don't know. I was trying to figure out what has 6, and either people went way past that point or couldn't make it, and I don't know.
I don't think you're going to find a lot of them.
Well, I mean, I guess just Terminator. And I know James still wants to talk about Dark Fate.
I thought we were doing like Shit-Timber or something. That was
the best feeling in the world.
That, yeah.
Was when Justin said we don't have to review Dark Fate, and I got so relieved that I didn't have to see Dark Fate. That was like the happiest day of my life.
I still haven't seen that yet.
It looks terrible. It looks boring as hell.
Really?
Like, Genesis looks so dumb that I had to see it. Whereas Dark Fate, I'm like, this looks like a rehash. I'm good.
Terminator Genisys had a really good idea, and they completely messed it up halfway through the movie. Like the first 20 minutes of the movie is the only interesting part, and then the part I hate the most of it is the bus, where they're tumbling end over end in a school bus, and they get out and they're totally cool. And I'm like, they're more durable than the actual Terminator is. Like he's getting beat up a bit, but like Sarah Connor and Kyle Reese would be mashed up in a pile of human pieces. There's no way they would live through that. Have you ever been on like a bus and you hit a bump and you fly in the air? Imagine that thing tumbling end over end like this, like you're dead. And they get out and they're like, whatever, let's go fight, John Connor.
In Dark Fate, they literally go over the Hoover Dam. And they crash. And they get out and they're like, what's up?
That's the thing. It's like the whole thing, like
they crash in a Humvee without seatbelts on, I think.
Yeah.
Oh no, it was a plane crash.
Oh no,
Okay.
yeah.
It was a Humvee plane crash.
The truck falls out of a plane into the Hoover Dam, and then they get out and they have a conversation.
The thing is, like, the whole point of the Terminator is that the human characters are supposed to be way more vulnerable than the actual Terminators are, and they weren't ever supposed to be badass. Like, Kyle Reese is kind of badass, but he's scared most of the time, and Sarah Connor is like pretty badass, but she's also horrified. But then they turned her into like this she's more mechanical than like the Terminators are after a while, and it's just kind of like. That's boring.
Well,
I want to see. That's why.
Marry James Cameron. That's bound to happen.
Yeah, right. James Cameron.
So, next question.
Oh, there we go.
I saw two hands. Who was the first one? Oh, okay. Excuse me.
So one of the things I enjoy that they do is a lot of practical effects. Which of the practical effects you guys had to film was the most challenging, and why?
The most challenging practical effects we've done with AVGN or otherwise? Is that the question?
The Pepsi Man makeup and stuff was like pretty involved, and it gave Mike Butters a bit of a rash afterwards too. Like
I felt bad about that.
What?
I felt bad about that.
Yeah, he was cool about it though. He had done that before, because I think he said he was in he was like one of the alien people in Fifth Element or something.
Yeah, that guy from Pepsi Man, he worked on a ton of special effects. He's like, I helped build the volcano and Dante's Peak and stuff. He has like a long background.
Oh, and South Park Butters, it's named after him.
Yeah,
because he worked on Basketball.
He was in Basketball and Orgasmo, so he I guess they thought it was funny, so they named him Butters.
Yeah, so I'm glad he came out and did that with us. His makeup was rough. Building the Immortal set was rough.
Yeah,
that was
while.
Yeah.
There's also dumb little things like making the Chex Quest box, making a 1996 cereal box, which there's a Chex panel last night. I was at that and showed that stuff. But that stuff's just design and kind of funny. I don't know, Ryan. What do you think?
I would say the biggest thing, and this is before your time, I guess, but the AVGN movie, the Las Vegas set, was actually shot near the airport in Philadelphia, and all of those buildings were brought in, and Death Moss's costume actually needs 4 operators for the tentacle arms. So there are a lot of these shots that are one-time shots where you have the Eiffel Tower from that you have to break, and you have to cut it in certain places, and once you smash that prop, this is a low budget movie. We're not going to get another MGM Grand. Once we smash it, it better be done correctly. So coordinating not only this big gigantic, somebody in the suit where they, can't really control themselves, plus their 4 tentacle handlers, plus whatever's going on with the building. That was probably the craziest effect shot in Cinemassacre history, I guess.
It's also tough with all the pee, poop, vomit, blood that comes out of James in different episodes, trying to figure that out so it doesn't get everywhere and all over the futon and the carpet and everything else. But there's that too. But yeah, I think that's about it.
The closest the Nerd Room ever came to total destruction was the Bugs Bunny fights. because they're doing the boxes. There's a lot of like fake shit. There's a lot of different things. Mike's in the room. James is in the room. Actually, in that scene, I forget who did who, but they were doing the fight scene where Bugs Bunny and the nerd are fighting, and I think James might have punched Mike.
For real. Yeah, Mike punched James,
Mike
and
punched
actually
James for real.
James saw stars and he almost got knocked out. Like he actually got hit.
Because that room's not that wide. The whole nerd room is probably from the front of the stage to the first row of chairs.
Yeah.
James shoots with a super wide angle lens. So when you see that room, it looks a lot bigger than it actually is.
And that was the problem when we did, we were shooting Macaulay Culkin, because we had us there because it was a 3-camera setup, and then you also had his agent and his manager there, Macaulay Culkin. So you can't fit 9 people in that room. It'd be like having 20 people on stage.
And then cameras and lights and microphones and all that. It's really annoying.
Well, I've always said I wish we could have the nerd room as an actual set so we can move walls away and all that stuff, but it kind of ruins the authenticity a little bit. But
I remember the hardest thing that I had to shoot was me shitting as Aladdin. Because that bathroom is super tiny, and we put the camera in there. We didn't have a screen, so you had to go around and look through the window of the bathroom to see if it was in frame.
The camera's in there because even with our widest lens, we're still too close. We had to shoot. Yeah. So I'm outside in the rain with something over my head trying to look so I can see the camera display, and I'm I think it's in focus.
Yeah, so I'm
it was not in focus.
My one foot is on the toilet seat, the other one was on a stool or something that was breaking, and that was difficult.
And that's the other thing about a toilet, regardless of upper decks and such like that. It's made to support your weight if you're sitting on the bottom part,
not the top.
Not the part. So we heard a, and I'm like, that sounds like a James problem to me.
My favorite is I didn't read that script ahead of time. I just showed up to do that, and then I left. I'm like, I wonder what the rest of the episode's like.
You had the 3D genie and all that shit. That's funny. We've been upping the ante a lot with the practical effects, but also the awful 3D digital effects at the same time. So it's a mess. All right. Well, I guess next question, Jab.
One thing I was curious about was that how basically, since every AVGN episode has a different intro pretty much, maybe there's a couple that are the same, but I was kind of curious about the production and process that goes into those, and if there's reasoning for why you're choosing specific things for specific episodes. And I know in a lot of the earlier ones he did an ET build up to the movie, so I guess I was wondering that process of the intros.
You mean how the nerd how the story and the intro is introduced in each episode?
I think more just how it's the thought process of putting them together in episode, since each one is kind of
right.
So some AVGN episodes have cold opens, some AVGN episodes have full theme song, some have a montage going into it.
It's kind of just more about the flow of the episode. Sometimes sometimes, if we have to put an ad in the beginning, we're let's give them the theme song so people don't hate us as much as, but it's usually just however the episode flows, and it's just kind of also what we feel would just fit, because sometimes it's straight up just an intro picture or something like that. We've done that, and then I photoshopped the weird James on Lara Croft.
Oh yeah.
It was really creepy looking when we did it, so it was
Yeah, I guess it just depends on how the episode fits on the opening. Like Majora's Mask had that huge buffer in the front and did the Twilight Zone thing and all that, just because it'd be fun to parody. It's good to throw in a theme song every 5 or 6 episodes, because now AVGN's been pretty much monthly for the last year or two, almost. So you don't want to have the same thing on each one. And sometimes they tie together. We tried tying James dies almost in every episode. But at the end of Polybius, he dies and gets rebuilt into the Robo-Nerd for the RoboCop games, and that was going to tie into another one, and then we kind of stopped doing that. I talked about how you could take all 12 episodes in a year and tie them all together, so it's almost like another AVGN movie, but as actual episodes. But that's a little too complex, and things don't always happen. Sometimes we had to shift a lot of episodes. Even the Black Tiger episode, that moved moved a lot, especially with Gilbert and all that, because we had to get his people's approval on that too, which I was worried about, but it was fine. So yeah, I guess it's up in the air.
When you have like the straight montages, though, like the clip selection.
Oh, the clips.
There's always a reason. There's always like a theme. If you see a montage, it's there for a reason. There is a theme.
Actually, Justin did the last one, and I think we just kind of took the old video and you put new stuff over it, just to also like update it, so it's not just showing like, it's a mix of the old and new, and not just like showing clips from like 10 years ago and stuff like that.
Didn't we do one that was like all guest characters recently?
Yeah, was that for the Fred Fox episode?
Which one was it?
Was that
the
for
intro,
Black Tiger?
like the montage was all the previous guest episodes.
Yeah, leading up to it, including the other characters and stuff like that. Yeah. But yeah, that's about it.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I got here late, so sorry if somebody already asked this, but I was wondering what was the reasoning for moving to a new video store? Was there like real life practical reasons why that was the right move?
The same reason why I want to build a studio to have the nerd room in is the same reason why we did the rental store. So I mean, Ryan pretty much helped design and build the entire new set, so I figured you could talk about it.
So the one thing that I wanted to do was to be able to shoot, to have like a theoretical space for the episode. Like it's actually a storefront. There's actually, the two stores are next to each other, and to be able to position the camera in a variety of places around it. The left wall of the video store is movable, which was a big part of it. It's all on wheels, and the whole thing is just clamped together so it can be moved around. So you could actually put a camera where there would be a wall and shoot something. The other thing is we moved the sets for rental reviews from James's house to our offices, which allowed us to have all of the setup be done when James arrives, so that instead of driving 3 or 4 people somewhere, you have 3 or 4 people setting up. James walks in, he has his notes, he can record. So it simplified the production a lot.
Because now we can set up like a day or two before and have lights and cameras and everything ready, and audio equipment and all that stuff. And it's just there and it's set up.
Yeah.
Usually
I was gonna say, and that previous room wasn't built with the show in mind. So it was like the hardest to set up in. So
it's kind of like cramped in there, but it's also too like when we would film it, James has to like kick his whole family out of the house, because if they walk or anything, you hear like boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, and he has a bunch of like little kids.
Yeah, so it's like, and that helped him out, because he's like, it takes us like about an hour to get to where he is, and then another hour to set everything up and make sure the mics are going and all that. So by the time we start filming, if we leave at like 11, it's already 1 o'clock, and also then too, James is like, well, it's a school night, and we got to eat dinner and all that, so get the hell out, and so it's like it's just easier to have him come over to us.
The other thing was Kieran was doing a lot of like frame by frame removal of glare off the TV, or glare off of James or Justin's glasses. And that is super time consuming to do that kind of like frame by frame editing. And the other thing was the TV, because it was a CRT on the old set, for the younger audience, they could hear the sound of the TV.
The hum.
And like Tony can't hear it.
I can't hear it.
Right?
I get so confused when I get the comments.
So if Tony was doing the audio mix on an episode, and somebody who was like 20 was watching the video, they'd hear a buzzing sound that he couldn't edit out. So that all had to change.
There's also, now we're all using like lapel mics, and some people help me out. So like our new audio is a lot better. But back then we just have 2 mics on top pointed at each side of the room, and it would pick up a lot of room noise, a lot of echoes in that room. People walking upstairs, and like when you talked about air conditioning earlier, when you're doing that, it can be like, hey James, your family doesn't get heat or air for the next 5 hours.
Plus, the thing is too.
So that's why. So a lot of reasons is why we moved.
Yeah.
And we still do some episodes there and now and again and whatnot. But
And the nerd room is always in the same place. It's just that is actually built to film in. Like he has microphones like wired into the ceiling and all this stuff, and it's actually like a room that was meant to be filmed in, but the basement was not. It was never thought.
Or it was meant to be filmed in for just
the rental.
him.
Yeah, like he was kind of like wanted to just do something with it for the longest time, and we were just that way we can do a weekly video that.
Yeah. And then we could build the new set for Mike's the retail reviews, and also it doubles as our storage space for all our stupid movies and games and all that. So it looks.
But most of the tapes on the rental review store are my dead grandfather's that he left me, and I'm like, what am I going to do with all these VHS tapes? They've been in a locker for years, and now they're on the set.
If you're looking at the retail review set, it's really a combination of my video game collection and the stuff that Justin kept in his office. But like all those NES games and Super Nintendo and stuff, that's like my actual collection.
Yeah. I guess next question. Whoa, there's a lot of questions. Wow.
Hey guys, so not including the people you've already had on or have plans to have on, who would be your dream guest star and what would you want to record with them?
I want Billy Zane for The Phantom. And I want it Gilbert, WWE's Gilbert, and I wanted to review Santa's Sleigh starring Goldberg, but apparently that didn't make the list this year. But Billy Zane Phantom.
Well, now we don't have to review any more Ernest movies, so we could probably do it next Christmas. For ABGN, I kind of have one in mind, and it might happen this year, so I don't want to say what that is. But for rental reviews, I don't know. Damn, that might happen too. I want to get Tom Green and review Freddy Got Fingered, and that might happen in April, but it's not locked in yet. But there's conversation right now. But I want to do that because I love Freddy Got Fingered. And I don't care what fucking Doug Walker has to say about it. I think that movie's awesome.
Doug Walker didn't like The Phantom. I don't care either. Phantom's great.
Yeah.
What about like Batman the Animated Series with Mark Hamill?
That would be cool.
I think that'd be crazy.
Yeah.
But that would be one of those things where it's cool to like, oh, he's here and we're doing the whole thing, but then logistically we have to watch every episode of Batman the Animated Series.
You haven't?
Yeah, you don't have them all memorized?
Well, no, because there's another thing. You guys could just wing it. I would have to watch every episode because I'm a maniac.
Just watch like some of the good ones. Like watch the Almost Got Him is probably like the best episode.
That is
ever
a great one.
Of Batman
Killer
animated
Croc
series.
and that.
Yeah, when he's like, I threw a rock at him. I love that episode.
I wouldn't want to have Mark Hamill in the building just in case something happens to him. I don't want to be the guy who killed Mark. Right? Like that'd be bad for my socials. Like I can't do, So I get why that would be cool, but you would want to like hang out with Mark Hamill. Like you're big on that.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the Guyver with Mark Hamill? Like, hey, remember when he turned into a goddamn grasshopper? Tell us about that.
Guyver 2. Did you say one, Karen?
I don't really think I have one. I don't know. Usually you come up to me and say like, hey, like when you said Tom Green, I was like, whoa, cool. Like maybe I don't know. Like
I know you'd want to do like if there was like a Tim and Eric thing and have those guys.
Oh yeah, no, that I would freak out about if Tim and Eric came, or like even if it was like James Quall or like one of those guys like on the show.
Well, I guess we're talking more accessible. Like we couldn't get like Schwarzenegger and talk about, you know what I mean?
Oh, that would
be amazing, but that
there
wouldn't
you go.
happen.
That is my dream guest is Arnold.
I think if we got Stallone, I would do Over the Top.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess
we haven't done a Schwarzenegger movie in a long time, actually.
No, we did one recently.
Did we?
Well, True Lies, but
yeah,
I want to do Hercules in New York. But that's another.
Which version? The dubbed version?
The dubbed. Yeah. Oh well. No, the undubbed.
The undubbed version, definitely.
Yes. Next question.
First off, I just wanted to say, if you guys do Jim Carrey month, I'd love if you did The Truman Show, because it's my favorite movie.
That's the third week in the month.
Really?
As of now, yes.
Spoilers.
I love Truman Show.
Well, hey, thank you. But secondly, I was just wondering, for rental reviews or even just general Cinemassacre videos, Have you guys ever had like an abandoned video or videos, just something you started to work on that just wasn't panning out? Something like that?
Yeah, we did an episode for Perfect Blue, and James's mic malfunctioned, so we weren't able to use that.
Oh yeah, he went to the bathroom and unplugged his lapel mic and never plugged it back in. So when we got the audio, like when we opened it up, it was like our 3 tracks, and then James's was just completely blank. There was just nothing on it. So we were like, well, that one's done.
Yeah, not so much AVGN, because like you can lose a rental review and be like, oops, well we shot so many, we can just do them, because we shoot like 3 or 4 or 5 at a time.
Actually, the first ever rental review we did, we never used it. It was
you wrote a thing that it was coming soon.
Yeah,
because so many people have asked me, "Where's the He-Man episode?"
It was the He-Man Christmas special. It was the first episode. It was I think me, Mike, Justin, and James did it.
Yeah.
And the camera angle was completely somewhere weird.
It was like a test, and it was really bad.
Yeah, it sucked. So we were like, that one's not.
And I said a bunch of stuff about He-Man that you're not allowed to say in public, so that's out.
Yeah.
But there's that one. I think there's a one. Is there one more? I know Perfect Blue, because I was like,
we just did Abraxas, and we're not using it because we were kind of like tired by the end of that night. We were real low energy.
We have a bunch too that we filmed with like guests that we haven't put out yet. Like back at Too Many Games, we shot with like Pat and Matt McMuscles and like a bunch of other people, and we still have a bunch of those that we still haven't put out yet. It's just that we kind of like put them out whenever we need an episode, or if we haven't shot one in a minute and we need to like stick something out there. But they're all in the original set because we filmed them before the new set was made. So it's kind of like I had to Photoshop like in the intro where the store is, I had to make like that same store a bunch of times. And it's this awful picture that I found on Google and of a Caldor, and then the sign for the Caldor. It's like it's a mess. Like the Photoshop thing is like, I basically made it and never thought we were going to really use it again. And then when we had to make the new stores, I was like, it's such a hack job because it's just the original store flipped onto the other side and then a new sign and a picture of a store on the inside. And the windows are actually, I made them out of just rectangles and lowered opacity and made a fake glare on them and stuff. So I got good at making fake windows, but I don't know where I was going with this.
I mean, there was there was an idea, like the Avengers, of the I guess the Cinemassacre cinematic universe.
Yeah.
Where you have the rental store, the Caldor, retail, another rental, and then you have other stores like the bar where we did.
my bar that I had for an episode.
There's a karate store, Kirati.
Yeah, that's my karate store.
And the joke with that is instead of belts, you get different denim vest colors.
Yeah, different vests.
It's all street fighting, so you might do that for.
And like we got that too because there's a karate place near where we work that just it's like an old Wawa or something that just has the word karate on top of it. I'm like, oh, that's where you go buy your karate if you need it at the karate store. So we always call it the karate store, but.
And then there is going to be not like Board James level stuff, but like stuff with the Caldor and Mr. Lobo and weird like.
Yeah, the Caldor is supposed
stuff.
to be almost like this riff in a dimension because it's like the original store is at the edge of the Voorhees Memorial Shopping Center. And then there's the Caldor, and then it just extends into infinity basically after that.
Different stores.
Yeah, it's like some weird alternate, and it somewhat takes place in the AVGN universe too, because.
Oh yeah, the continuity's all over the place because we'll pretend like AVGN is a character in rental reviews, and then we'll talk about filming AVGN. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Like what is it? Spawn, the Violator kicks me into the store. And it's supposed to continue from the AVGN episode. And then in that, James and Justin are like, yeah, when we filmed that episode. It's like, wait, what? What's going on?
Yeah. Oh, and there was the Surf Ninjas one where he calls the store.
Oh, yeah.
Because
the Amiga.
Yeah, the Amiga CD32, which is the worst.
I feel like one of the flaws in YouTube, and this kind of all illustrates one of the flaws in YouTube, is because there's so many people watching a given show, it's hard to do continuity from episode to episode, because the people that are watching this episode are an entirely different group of people that are watching this episode. So as much as we come up with these ideas to do continuity, like half of you won't have seen the prior episode. So how do you do that in such small format? Because we really, really want to.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're upset about continuity, just remember the Mystery Science Theater theme song. Just to repeat to yourself, it's just a show, and you should really just relax.
Yeah. There's that too. All right, I guess next question.
Hey guys. Whoa. Hey. So I've been watching rental reviews for a while, and ever since since I started watching it, there's always been one question that's been in the back of my head for so long, and now that you guys are here, I'm finally able to ask it. How do I become cool like Tony?
Tony from Hack the Movie.
Yeah, how do you become cool like me? Oh man.
Do I gotta like Jurassic
It takes
Park?
many years.
Well, first
you have to. Here's how you become cool like me.
You
in
don't
high
have
school.
to answer this question. You don't have to answer.
Oh, no. In high school, you have to sit inside while all your friends are at parties watching DVD extra features. That's the first step of being cool.
That's all your question.
Yeah.
You gotta wear sunglasses indoors.
You have to wear sunglasses indoors.
You have to talk really loud.
Talk really loud. Dominate the conversation.
You should probably be really Italian and wear an Italian flag tracksuit.
Yeah.
And if you don't recall, Rocky wore this same suit in Rocky 4 when he's washing his car, when he's when the robot's outside. Anyone remember Rocky 4? But, yeah.
And that asshole Stallone, all he did was remove the Adidas logo and put his logo on it, and now he's selling it.
Yeah.
I don't even know how he's getting away with that.
I'll tell you, Tony is living in a three-panel Saturday morning cartoon. I come into work, and that's like the first panel. Tony's like setting something up. Then I come downstairs, and something ridiculous is happening. And then the third panel is he's like passed out in the corner. But that's every day of my life. He's like, I'm like, why are you in a hunting outfit, Tony?
Fuck it, this is the roast of Tony now.
Yeah.
Screw it.
Why do you have 10 gallons of blood? What is going on?
Why is the wall smoking? Oh, you drilled into a power outlet?
Yeah, so...
Tony almost burnt down our office once.
Yeah, we talked about it in the Three Stooges review. I went to mount a TV stand and I drilled into a wire.
You did not.
So I will tell the story because it affected me and it was horrifying. We were building. It was when we first moved in the office, so everything's still getting kind of built and everything. And we just moved into our office and we had these OLED TVs as our third monitors. And mine was set up, but Tony's wasn't. So he gets
mine was set up.
Oh no, that's right. We had a third one that we were putting in the room. So Tony's like, I'm in the other room building IKEA furniture, and Tony just walks in and he's like, "Hey, I just drilled into the wall real quick, and a bunch of smoke came out. I think I hit a wire." And he's holding the drill, and the drill bit is melted.
Yeah.
It's charred, and I'm just like, you want to maybe alert people about this? And Tony's like, okay. So I run into the other room, and Tony's just like, oh, it's cool. The smoke stopped coming out. And we were like, so Ryan had to come down.
No. And then 10 minutes go by, and because we have the basement and an upstairs, and I'm upstairs in my office, and I'm like, wait, what? And I rush down there, I'm like, oh no, the fire's in progress, it's in the wall now, I'm like, oh no. So me and Ryan, didn't you saw open the
So I had to cut open the wall with a Sawzall, and I'm doing electrical work on live lines and stuff to fix this. So we eventually fixed it, but this underscores an important point. I originally hired Kieran to replace the ceiling tiles in that room.
Yeah.
And it was like the story that they have about Harrison Ford, where he was hired to do a handyman, and then he became Han Solo.
Yeah.
So, Kieran came in to clean the walls and
I was vacuuming glass out of carpet and tearing carpets up and moving furniture and stuff, and then they were like, you want to just work here? You can edit.
You can do.
And I was like, sweet,
stuff.
yeah, cool, that's awesome. I was working before that as in an adult. Let's just say it was a video store, but it was an entire section of movies for mom and dad, and that's where I was working before this.
So now the hole in the office is still there, and we covered it up with the Dilophosaurus mask from Trespasser. We mounted that to the wall to cover it.
Yeah. Oh, and the way Tony actually drilled it too, it was in a perfect place that it grounded the wire instead of completely obliterating Tony.
Yeah, I guess I could have died. I mean,
if it was like 1 millimeter over, Tony would just be like missed.
So the other thing is our office used to be like a dental office. So they have like 600 amp like power for X-ray machines. If Tony did that wrong, he'd be gone. Like we wouldn't even know where he went.
I don't think rental reviews started. Here's the thing, I don't think rental reviews had started at that point, so it would have been fine if no one would really care.
Yeah, there would have been a James and Mike
I guess
Monday.
my family, but whatever.
There would have been a James and Mike Monday. It says "Rest in peace, Tony from Half the Movies," and that would have been it.
They'd play Siphon Filter in your memorial episode.
Hey guys, this episode of Siphon Filter is dedicated to Tony who electrocuted himself.
Who exploded violently all over the office.
Yeah. So I guess next question. Unless anyone wants to roast Tony more.
Going back to the topic of reboots that a lot of people don't like, what do you prefer and why? Wild Wild West with Will Smith or The Lone Ranger with Johnny Depp?
Oh, Wild Wild West.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't see Lone Ranger, so I don't know.
So with this group, any movie that has a 90s dance theme song automatically wins.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I didn't see Lone Ranger, but fuck it, Wild Wild West. I picked that one.
Once upon a time in the West, Madman lost his damn mind in the West. Well, you know what? That might have to be a karaoke thing tonight.
Oh, you're gonna do that.
Yeah. So we're doing karaoke tonight in panel 2, and it's it's like a contest or whatever, and you just come up and we'll just run it on YouTube or whatever, and it's all we're trying to make it movie and games stuff. So Wild Wild West would count.
Can we
if you wanna
we do rental reviews for just the Wild Wild West music video? Because it's so...
It's technically the sequel to the movie.
But, like, it's so different than the movie. It's clearly the movie Will Smith wanted, because, like, in the movie, he doesn't get the girl, but in the video, he does. He's, like, way more of a badass.
I've said it before, and to bring up the question of who I'd want on rental reviews or what I'd like to do, I want to get Will Smith, and I want to make a dance song much like Men in Black and Wild Wild West, but for Independence Day. Because that would be awesome. And you just take any one of what's his name songs from the '70s and just we'll work on it. I've been thinking about that for a while. I was even pushing James like, hey, what if we do Independence Day again for rental reviews or AVGN, like revisit it or whatever? Like, got a song idea. It's about aliens from space. I don't know. I love Independence Day, but no, Wild Wild West. Yeah, it's definitely the better. But in terms of other remakes, I mean, the Jump Street movies are pretty good.
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah, they're good.
But that's when they twist it completely.
I actually didn't mind too much the RoboCop one. It was kind of dumb, but like it had some cool parts to it, but it was pretty dumb. It was pretty stupid.
I don't know. That's a controversial opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it was as a movie itself. It was like,
Well, compared to the Total Recall remake, holy crap!
I never watched that.
I keep forgetting that movie exists.
Yeah, to go back to Afterlife and Ghostbusters, if you can't make your sequel like Mad Max Fury Road, don't.
Yeah.
If you can't have an argument like, what do you like better? Well, I like Road Warrior better. Well, you're an idiot. I like Fury Road better. You know, whatever. But like, if someone's like, my favorite Mad Max is Fury Road, like me, I'd be like, yeah, I can see why. But
my favorite reboot recently was the new Shaft. That movie was great. I don't care what anyone says. That new Shaft movie's awesome.
I like how a lot of our statements are very final. This is what it is, and I don't care what anyone says.
I think my favorite reboot that came out was Dredd. I think that was like the best reboot I've ever seen. Movie's awesome.
There was another movie I watched that it felt exactly like Dredd. What is that movie where there's a tower and there's
The Raid.
Yeah.
I like that.
I will say this: a lot of people always say that Dredd ripped that off, but it was in production before The Raid. it just came out after the Raid.
Because of the 3D and the visual effects, so people thought it ripped off Raid.
But I don't feel like Dredd was them being like, oh, we're trying to fix Judge Dredd 95 with Stallone, which is amazing, and I'll die on that hill. Cyberpunk, it's a good movie, you know. But I think, where was I going with that? I forget. I think. I feel like when you do something like Ghostbusters, you're just trying to get the fame from the first movie or second movie or 20, you know, whatever it is. But for Dredd, they just went back to the original source material and made their own thing, which is better. But you can't really do that if it's Ghostbusters because that started as a movie. So
I was watching a really cool thing about the special effects in Dredd too, like how the cities were made and everything. And
slow-mo.
Yeah, it's really awesome, like the work they did with that movie and stuff. And what's kind of cool is like Mega City 1 is supposed to be New York, so you see some old, you know, New York City buildings, but they're like completely like almost hidden because the mega structures are so huge. Like the Chrysler building, I think, is in one of the shots, and it's like barely even noticeable. It's like so tiny.
That's like in Fifth Element when like they fly away to go to Floss in Paradise, and you see New York and how like the
Statue of Liberty, they like elevated it like super high.
Well, no, it's because all the water went away. Like there's some sort of like environmental crisis they don't talk about. But, yeah. Next question. We can talk about environmental crises.
Hey guys, thank you so much for everything that you do. I really hope you guys come back next year. I actually don't have a question as much as I have a gift for you all. I was talking to Tony about this yesterday. I love gifts. It's kind of the Big Rigs off-the-road racing movie starring Patrick Swayze and Meatloaf.
Ooh, I'm in.
Awesome.
Black Dog.
So yeah. Give me that. This might be my new favorite movie. Here we go. Black Dog, starring Patrick Swayze, Randy Travis, and Meatloaf. What a star-studded cast that is.
Wait, what year did that come out?
Yo, if we do that episode, we have to have James do an ad for the movie, and then at the end he says, or I'm not Rex Viper Riggs.
1998. Yeah,
Actually,
we're putting this one on the list. I want to watch this one bad.
Wait, so Meatloaf went from Spice World to that?
Yeah.
Also
from the director of Passenger 57. I love Passenger 57.
Always Bet on Black.
That was one of my favorite Die Hard ripoffs.
What if Die Hard was on a plane? Well, has anyone seen the movie What If Die Hard was on a well, hold up. Well, they're both. What if Die Hard was on a battleship? Anyone? Thanks. What if Die Hard was on a submarine?
Hunt for Red October?
No. Submerged, also with Steven Seagal. It's his last VHS release, and I definitely want to talk about Seagal this year. But
have you ever talked about your Steven Seagal collection on an episode?
Yeah, Justin has a wall of Seagal.
I might
in his
have the
office.
world's largest Steven Seagal collection, but I don't like bringing that up. So let's leave it.
So
I
we have
love
5
you
minutes
set up that wall, and then like the week you were done setting it up, it's like Steven Seagal has been accused of horrible things. I'm like, yeah, perfect timing, Justin.
Yeah, that's a collection you want to show off. Yeah.
So we have 5 minutes, so maybe we'll do 1 or 2 more questions.
Hey guys, I liked the Kermit's Early Years video you did with Arlo. Was there any sort of significant setup that went into getting the puppet set up and shooting with that?
So Kermit Swamp Years of Arlo. I mean, well, it's fun because we also did the animated scene with like the Kermit voice and all that Chris Pavlou did, who does a lot of editing and thumbnail stuff for us. He's a good guy. But
it was also really grim.
Yeah, he gets dissected.
It was actually cut down. It was a little bit more upsetting, I think.
I mean, Arlo's friend, I don't know what it is, but that was cool. It was just really tough to do the review because I'm not like me and James aren't Sesame Street performers, so we kept looking at the ground at him, like, yeah, so I think, because his voice is coming from, because so what we did was, you know, I said the mics are in the air for them, we put his down here, so it's kind of like that, so it sounds like he's on the same level with us, but he's on the ground, so we kept looking at the ground. He's on like a pillow, like doing his thing, and so I had to like, I think you edited it.
Yeah, I had to edit around. He would have to take breaks with his arm. So I would there might be a shot where you see Arlo about to go down, and then it just cuts to a 2-shot of James.
There's so many times where we're just talking to each other, and then Arlo died. And we had to keep it going. Like,
I gotta find the raw footage of that, just Arlo just falling down and then popping up.
So we had to be like, yeah, so Muppet Christmas Carol, and like it was kind of difficult because you just see him just go, because it'd be like this happened once actually. So we're at RetroCon and we're having a panel with AVGN and whatever, and we're having a conversation and Kieran just disappears. And what happened was his chair broke and he went over there. and we're like, yeah. So
and the thing is like, and I get it. Kieran broke a chair, whatever, but. They have really flimsy chairs at RetroCon, and I sat in one and I was like, this chair feels like it's gonna break. I better switch it with this chair. And then halfway through, I just it was as if just nothing was under me anymore. It just disappeared, and I was on the floor, and I didn't get up right away. I kind of was like, that was the first time I was ever doing a panel, and that was what happened, and it was probably one of the worst things that you
I was so mad it wasn't filmed. That would have been pretty good.
There's a guy that brings it up to me every time at RetroCon. He's like, I see you standing up. And I'm like, yeah, dude. Like, every time.
So I guess last question.
Oh,
me.
Yes.
So my question is, when you were a child going to the video store, what VHS horror movie cover scarred you for life? Because for me, it was Ghoulies 2. I've always had this fear that a little ghoulie's gonna come out of the toilet.
Oh yeah.
So what scarred you for life?
Actually, the cover I used to be like obsessed with was for Night of the Demons, with like the really creepy girl on the cover. That used to scare the shit out of me, and like I never got around to watching it, and a fan gave it to me finally. That movie's awesome, but yeah, I would always be and I loved horror movies, I would always be way too afraid to rent that one.
Probably Jack Frost, a horror movie, because it's like really frightening. And we talked about that at whatever. And I like a few people came forward after that episode came out of Rental Reviews, and they're like, yeah, I used to work at a video store back in the day or whatever, and we used to just put the movie in the wrong box, so a kid would go home with the Michael Keaton movie and watch that. And I was like,
Oh, we got to do Jack Frost too. I watched it the other day. It's hilarious. It's actually really good.
Those movies are really fun.
I know there's some stabbing eyeball moments.
Yeah, there are. There's a head explosion in there that made me lose my shit. We got to do Jack Frost too.
What are your guys' case art?
Well, for me it was Child's Play, because what happened was my mom rented me Peter Pan, the Disney one. And I couldn't read at this point. I was only I was like 3 or 4 or something like that. I didn't really read. So I just saw a tape and popped it in. And it's the part where Chucky cuts the head off of the Jack in the Box, and it scared the crap out of me. I didn't know what it was, and then I had to run and I'm like, Mom, help. So
Child's Play is really scary when you look at the cover and then you watch the movie and find out it's hilarious.
I love those movies. They're actually one of my favorite, that and Saw probably are my favorite horrors.
So there's this movie called Monkey Shine.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
yeah. And the cover of that movie scared the shit out of me as a kid, and I don't know why.
Monkey Shines?
Yeah.
Monkey Cheese?
That movie's not that scary, just a heads up.
Yeah, I don't know, but as a kid, I don't know if it's like the font or whatever, I was like, I'm not doing that one.
It might be Black Dog. Also, it says some of the special features say that there's web links, so that'll be fun to see if there's websites around. And they make a big point back here. They say this is the color presentation, not the black and white version of.
Oh, thank you for the color
and
presentation.
if you haven't seen, they made a black and white version, the black and chrome version of Mad Max Fury Road on Blu-ray. That is amazing. By the way, they recolored the movie. It's not just like they made it black; they redid it. But anyway.
Yeah, I got any final statements. I have a final statement to that point. If your movie sequel isn't Terminator 2 or Fury Road, don't make it.
Yeah.
That's mine.
It's not going to be a Black Dog 2. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for us. Thanks for coming. And we have a panel tonight at 8:30. It's going to be the karaoke one.
Karaoke time.
There's a trivia one tomorrow. We have prizes, including stuff that we just grabbed off our wall or AVGN props, and we're just going to...
Justin tried to re-gift my Christmas gift to him this year. That
it was
would have been a
Funko
prize.
Pop. Fuck you.
Yeah, I got the Funko Pop of Tony from Die Hard, and then I look at the prize box and it's in there. I'm like, that motherfucker, that was my Christmas gift to him.
I did throw it in my closet area.
I'm wearing your Christmas gift to me now. You try to throw my gift away.
I get excellent gifts sometimes. Also, happy birthday, Ryan.
Oh, yeah. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. You had to be at MAGFest. All right, so I guess that's it. Wrap it up.
Thank you.
Thank you.